Hi, this is Alex from Cloud9, and I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough the new PHP debugger we've just added to our IDE. So, a debugger is an incredibly helpful little tool to solve problems and find bugs while you're coding. I'm sure you've used the very typical approach to debugging, and that's logging or printing the internal state of the app, usually with something like var_dump or printr. It's very common and quick, but there are downsides to this approach, and one of the biggest issues is that if you want to log a problem, you pretty much need to know where it occurs ahead of time, because that's where you will add your logging call. If you don't know this, the only alternative is to repeat this process many times, or you need to have logging calls all over the place. Not ideal. Well, what if instead of predicting where your code fails, you could actually pause the whole thing and then slowly continue through? You could see which lines of code are being hit, when, and if that code functions correctly. Now, that's exactly what a debugger does, and it's far more fun and a lot more productive than adding log calls all over the place. Let's have a look. So the code I want to debug is a Symfony PHP controller, which I've already opened here. It works, but sometimes the output changes, and I'm not exactly sure what causes it. The first thing I want to do is to tell the debugger where it will have to pause. Kind of like the starting point, a breakpoint. The little red dot next to the line number means pause here when you reach this line. Let's set one here, and that's where I want it to pause. Next, we need to run our site, and for this I'm using Cloud9 Live Preview. We just click the green button up here. It understands we're building a Symfony app, and it launches the built-in server. Click on the link, and here we go. The debugger has paused our app at the breakpoint, and we have entered debug mode. The panel on the right contains our debugging tools and information. The call stack shows us where we are in the code, and what function calls led us to the current position. If you want to look at a caller function, just click it, and Cloud9 jumps right to the definition of it. Variables shows you what's been defined in the scope of the current function, in the class's scope, and all superglobals like server. You see the value of each variable, and for arrays or objects, you can also expand them and look at the fields inside of them. Now, let's interact with our paused application. On the top here, you see 4 buttons: Resume, Start Over, Step Into, and Step Out. Resume will leave debug mode, and the app runs normal until it finishes or until the next breakpoint is hit. We'll skip this for now. Step Over executes the current line of code and then pauses again on the next line. You can click it multiple times to continue quickly through your code while you look at each line individually. Here we have a function call, and I suspect the cause of my bug might be inside that function. So instead of stepping over it, I use the Step Into button, and the debugger takes me a level deeper. Let's see what's going on in here. Okay, I want to investigate this variable. There are 2 ways to do that. One, I simply move my mouse cursor over it and I get this little pop-up. Super simple. Then I can also look at the variables panel, where I see this and all other variables at once. Here in the panel, I can even change their current value. Double-click, fill in the new value, press Enter, and it gets applied right away. What if you want to track how value changes over time, and you don't want to repeatedly move your mouse over it? To do that, you can use watch expressions. Watches are code snippets that run with each step. You can type anything here, from variables such as myvar to math, like 3 times 5, or call a function. For example, let's call time here. It runs, and you immediately see the results. Alright, I think I'm done in this function. I can step over until we're at the end of it, or even quicker, I can use the Step Out button to immediately return back to the parent location. Here are 2 more things that you can do in the debugger. If you have a breakpoint that usually isn't that important, but under particular circumstances you want to pause there, well, you can set a condition for that breakpoint. With a condition, the debugger will only pause if the value becomes true. So here, we check that myvar is larger than 5. This also works for more complex comparisons. For example, you can pause only if E is an instance of runtime exception. Last, I want to show you the immediate window. If you just want to run a quick line of code and see the results, use the button down here. It's good for one-liners like getting the current PHP version, or 64 encoding a string. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the little demo and have fun using it. All of this is available right now on Cloud9 for you to try out. If you don't have your account yet, I highly recommend to create one. It's free and it only takes a few seconds to sign up. Thanks for watching and happy coding.